Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Spotify Roulette, where I spin a wheel, I react, learn, and transcribe whatever song it lands on completely by ear. But today, we're going to be continuing with the second edition of Taylor Swift Eras Roulette. That's right, friends. As both a musician and a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm dedicating another episode to our newly crowned Duchess of Chiefs Kingdom. And I've completely updated the wheel that we're spinning today. In the last Eras Roulette episode, the wheel picked Shake It Off, which is actually a perfect song for a football game. I just went onto Spotify onto a Taylor Swift playlist and kind of just handpicked some songs randomly. But this time, I wanted to take a deeper dive into our catalog and find some songs with, multiple parts, maybe some more complex chord progressions, and some serious Swiftie fan favorites. Since the only two Taylor Swift songs that I know are Blank Spaces and Now Shake It Off, I turned to AI for help, so I could get these songs down without having to listen to it first, which defeats the whole purpose of this reaction video. I used ChatGPT, I used Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Claude, all to find the songs that hit the overall sweet spot of popularity, songwriting complexity, and Swiftie deep cut status. I used all of the common songs from their lists. I hand-selected 10 new tracks for the wheel, and now we're about to spin this thing. The songs for today's list are Cruel Summer, All Too Well, the 10-minute version, Getaway Car, Champagne Problems, Haunted, Right Where You Left Me, False God, Ivy, The Archer, and Tolerate It. All right, let's go ahead and spin this wheel. All right, we're spinning, friends. Right Where You Left Me. Let's check it out. Okay, Right Where You Left Me. This song was released 4 years ago. It has 33.6 million views. And this is the official lyric video here. So we're going to go ahead and get into it.
Friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly through new skies, but I'm right where you left me. Matches burn after the...
Okay, so we have a few chords so far. Here, mostly acoustic guitar and a little bit of banjo coming in into the background here.
The other pages turn and stick to each other, wages earned and lessons learned, but I'm right where you left me.
Okay, so I'm hearing probably two banjo parts in there, panned left and right, and then I don't know. There might be.
I'm still at the restaurant.
Hold on, I hear some bass coming in the background. There's a lot going on here. So I hear the couple banjo parts, probably maybe one or two acoustic guitar parts, bass kind of coming in the background. Boom, 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 boom. Very faint.
Sitting in a corner I haunt, cross-legged in the dim light. They say what a sad sight. I swear you could hear a hairpin drop right when I felt the moment stop. Glass
Definitely a departure from the compositional style of Shake It Off and also Blank Space, the other song that I haven't done a video on, but the other Taylor Swift song that I know going into this whole thing. But yeah, there's definitely I don't know, the composition, the chords and everything, it's kind of leading into different places. It feels like we're building and starting to build to something. Some type of climactic moment in the song. Okay. Got like some reggae rhythmic chords in the background. Okay, we're transitioning into a different part of the song. Repeating those chords again. So I hear some, I don't think it's steel guitar, I think it's actual kind of maybe electric guitar swells, some reverb, maybe, an overdrive cranked, or a fuzz cranked with the volume knob on the guitar turned way down to kind of break up a little bit, yet still have that gritty texture to it. But yeah, the chords and the movement of the song kind of going into different directions here. I like it. Yeah, there you go.
Did you ever hear about the girl who got frozen? Time went on for everybody else. She won't know it. She's still 23.
Yeah, that guitar is kind of just like grumbling a little bit in the background in little bits and pieces. We're back into what I would imagine are the A chords. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we go back and analyze the song. But definitely a verse of some sort.
Inside her fantasy, how it was supposed to be. Did you hear about the girl who lives in delusion? Breakups happen every day, you don't have to lose it. She's still 23.
Building.
Fantasy, and you're sitting in front of me.
Ooh.
At the restaurant
Drop.
when
I don't know if if it's accordion or violin that I hear in the background very faintly going over this section here.
Cross-legged in the dim light, everything was just right. I
Fiddle.
could feel the mascara run. You told me that you met someone. Glass shattered on the white cloth, everybody moved on.
There's just been this constant dance between lyricism and instrumentation in this song, and it's just kind of not really settling on any one thing quite yet and becoming fully cohesive. But yeah, this is a very well-crafted song. You could tell that she wrote this with intent, and this is absolutely something that she wanted to record for her own purposes. Something that's meaningful and maybe not just something to please the fans and make a hit and go on to the next song. I mean, this song definitely, you can tell, has meaning to it, both musically and in the lyrics.
I'm still at the restaurant, still sitting in a corner. I haunt, cross-legged in a dim light. You say what
Some of those arpeggio banjo chords going on there. Definitely two banjos.
You got a wife out there, kids and Christmas, but I'm unaware, 'cause I'm right where I cause no harm. Mind my business. If I love died young, I can't bear witness, and it's been so long. If you ever think you got it wrong, I'm right where you left me. You left me, no.
That's a really nice transition into this chorus part.
But to stay here forever, you left me. You left me, no. You left me, no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever.
Wow. Yeah, that song went by really fast, you know? What a really good song. All right, we're going to go back and listen to this a second time and see if we can pick out some chords and, just all the different elements of the song, the entire song structure, and, transcribe this thing. Let's listen.
Friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly through new skies, but I'm right where you left me. Matches burn after the other, pages turn and stick to each other, wages earned and lessons learned, but I'm right where you left me. Help, I'm still.
So it hangs on that dude. Okay. So it kind of sounds like it's starting on that flat 7 and going to like a G minor maybe? Let's see. All right, so it sounds like... something like that. That's kind of an odd way to work around some chords. Not an odd way, but just a way that I'm not used to hearing. Okay. Alright, so after kind of going through it a second time, I was kind of wondering what the key center was of all of this. And I think after going through those chords multiple times, it starts off on that F, and then it goes up to the G minor, and it kind of moves around some chords a little bit. I think that this is in the key of B flat major. If I had to take a guess. Just because, that kind of sounds like the key center to me. We also have the G minor chord in there, which would be the relative minor to B flat. And then also, the F chord sounds pretty strong, like a strong chord. So I'm guessing, I just dropped my pick. I'm guessing that's probably a 5 chord. And then... be your relative minor, and then E flat, which would be your 4 chord. Then we got the B flat, which would hypothetically be the 1 chord in this scenario, and then F, which is going to be your 5. Alright, so it took a minute and I went back and I listened with my headphones in, just because I was kind of hearing something. I noticed when I was kind of picking out some of the chords there, I was listening for some of the specific notes being played, and it kind of sounds like they're being played in this range, but I noticed a certain timbre to some of the strings that I notice when I hear songs with capos. And a capo, if you don't know, there's many different types of capos. Something like this, it basically bars off an entire string, and it acts as basically the nut of the guitar, which is what this piece of the guitar is called. So, I haven't looked at the video yet. I know that there's a live version of this online. I'm trying to avoid watching any live versions, just so I can rely solely on my ears and not see what the artists are doing. But I imagine, when I was going through and I was playing some of the inversions up here, and I was hearing certain notes. I was hearing the C being played when this... basically the D shape up here, and then I heard it go down in tone and play that G minor chord right there, which is basically a bar chord. And then what got me is I heard right there, that is E flat major. And if you're capoing this, you can play those chords really easily if you're capoing it at the 3rd fret. So I am going to guess, this is a bold assumption, I'm going to guess that we are capoing the 3rd fret, and we're going to be playing basically a D chord, and then basically you'd play an E minor chord, when in actuality, we're playing G minor, because this capoed, all these strings are capoed. It's just an easier way to play it. But yeah, when I hear songs with capos, there's a certain timbre, or basically quality to the note that I can hear, because I've been playing guitar for so long, on a lot of those recordings. I think this one's a capo song. So, we got basically we're starting here at the 5th fret, or the 5th string, and playing that C. So you're basically, you're playing an F chord over a C. Then we got an E minor, which is going to be your G minor chord. It's kind of confusing in those terms. You kind of, when you're capoing things, you kind of have to think in terms of shapes, similar to how you would do caged or something like that. So the next one, which is going to be your E flat chord, which isn't really the easiest to play down here in the root position. You can play that in the C shape right here if you're barred off at the 3rd fret. And then I think I heard that would be a B flat, basically, if you're playing the G shape with this capoed off of the G fret, B flat, and then to the D shape, which is going to be your F chord. And they hang on that, sing the first line of the verse before going back down to that minor chord there. All right, I think that's what's going on there. All right, so I decided I should go back and listen to this song. There's really a lot to this song. It's not just a, write out a couple chord progressions, boom, boom, you're done, and go out and play it on Friday or Saturday night. Sorry, I just ate a Pop-Tart there. But yeah, I had to pause and go back. There was some not weird things, but just some different things going on there. And it's one thing that, I noticed when I went back and I was learning 35 or 40 country songs at one point in time for a gig, when never playing country music before, really. This does a country thing in the songwriting. Basically, there's always like one or two parts that are completely out of the norm in the songwriting standard when it comes to, you'll be rolling along, having a fun time, playing your regular chords, and all of a sudden, boom, this change comes in out of nowhere, and it just happens once, and that's it for the rest of the song. So there's something kind of like that going on in this song when you get into really the the bridge section and post the bridge section of the song. It's really interesting. This is a really well crafted song. The songwriting on it is, as far as the song structure and the way this is pieced together, is really top level. And I mean, it's paired by just amazing, haunting lyrics and that really resonate. I mean, yeah, this is a very well crafted song. So I'm going to go back. I have just I wrote just basically a kind of, A, B, C, D chart for this overall. But, with those weird changes, I had to go back at the end of some of the measures and be like, okay, this measure cuts off earlier than it did the last time we went through that. So we have to notate that here and there. If you're playing this, you can really feel that stuff as it's happening in the song going back. Like if I was to play this on stage and there was a vocalist who was familiar with the song, and this is the last minute gig scenario, like the whole premise of this Spotify roulette thing. You definitely want to go back and practice this one quite a few times just to get the feel of when it drops out and picks back up. So I'm going to go back out. I'm going to write this in a little more of a readable format, and I'll be back in just a little bit. All right, so I decided to go back and really dive in and analyze this song, and man, this is really a well-crafted song. I mean, there's some things going on here that you don't see in a whole lot of pop music. There's kind of a little bit of ambiguity between the A section, which would be the verse section, and the C section, which are the chords for the chorus, because there's this lingering F chord that hangs on, and it goes back to G minor. So, and then also, you have this classic little kind of walk down going on, where a lot of times, there's a lot of pop songs that walk from like a G major chord to a D that's over a F sharp, walking down to an E minor. It does this kind of similar thing in the song in a couple points. And then, there are really four primary sections to this song. And one of them is a little bit, it's like a kind of section, after the bridge section, it goes back into the chorus chords, but it kind of almost feels like the verse chord. So it was a really interesting thing. And then there are a couple of bars where it completely drops off and jumps right into another section. So that is a very classic country composition movement there. Except for the overall composition of this entire thing, most country chords, you got 3 or 4 country songs rather, you have about 3 or 4 chords, and then there's like a weird rhythmic section where it'll like, where it would usually play 4 bars, it'll cut off at 2 bars and go into another section. And so I'd always have these charts and I'd write 4 chords and then, oh, watch out for this part because boom, it drops right into the next verse instantly. So it actually does that a couple times in this song, which I noted. So now I don't know how well this is going to come off on here because I wrote this in pencil because I didn't want to write through the back of this. But I have my A chords, you have the B section here. I kind of wrote this in my own notation, and this is a little bit taken from, the way that you would write like a jazz chart, like a fake book chart or something like that, where you just have the slash marks indicating quarter notes. Now, to cut down on space, I actually notated up here that one measure equals 8 counts. So I can cut this down because when I first wrote this out, it was just, it was like 3 or 4 pages worth of stuff. So this, I am so incredibly impressed by this song, and it is quite a contrast compositionally from Shake It Off, which is kind of a fun party song. This song, you can tell that Taylor really had something to say in this one, both through the music and through the composition. Through the lyrics. So there's the A section right here. We kind of start off on F, but the vibe is really this whole G minor thing going on to B flat major, which, so you're talking about if the song's in B flat, that would be the 1. The G minor would be your 6th chord, which would be the relative minor to the B flat. So there are a lot of chords in there, but this bridge section, you go into a D minor, E flat, F, which we've already seen those chords come in. So yeah, you basically have a verse, you have a pre-chorus, there's a chorus section, goes back to kind of a pre-chorus. Wait, does that say, I wrote pre-chorus there. I don't really know if that's pre-chorus or not. Anyway, then you go into the bridge section, sitting in front of me at the restaurant where it kind of hangs out. And then it goes back into the sort of chorusy, versy chords. But you're definitely singing the chorus section there lyrically. So yeah, we're going to dive into this a little bit further. I just want to show this to you one more time because I don't know if I'm going to rewrite this entire thing. So there we go. You might hear some work being done in my parking lot right now. It's every time I film a video, they are doing work in my parking lot or something like that. They're chopping up a bunch of concrete out there. So I get into a moment and it's, and I got to go back and start anew because it's bleeding through. So the show must go on. So here's the back page of that. And look, I have these X sections where just boom, just drops right into the next line. All right, so let's dive in a little further here. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the song. We're going to review a couple things here and talk about it a little bit. So let's crank this thing.
Friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly through new skies, but I'm right where you live.
Okay.
Matches burn.
So yeah, first off, like I said, I think that there is some capo action going on here, which the way that everything sounds and lines up, it sounds like it would be capoed off at the 3rd fret here. So if I'm playing the first chord, which is going to be F, I'm actually going to be playing kind of what would be a D chord down here in this position. To your E minor chord, to a C chord, then to a D. All right, so it'd be like a... And I don't know the melody well enough to perform it at this point. But that's basically going to be your A section of chords, during the verse. Then it kind of goes into this pre-chorus section. All right, so you're playing a C minor, but the actual kind of chord shape you're playing down here is going to be like an A minor chord shape. The note is C minor. The shape is going to be A minor. All right, and the next note is going to, or the next chord is going to be a B major. You're going to be playing like a G shape here for this. To a D shape, which the actual chord is going to be an F chord. That's the B section. Okay? And then your C section of chords is basically going to be G minor. So you're back to this E minor shape here. Remember, we're barred off. This is going to be your E minor shape, only barred off at the 6th fret here, G. So you're playing a G minor chord. All right, and then but the next one's going to be an E flat, so which is right here. But I could play the E flat by playing my C shape here. All right, then we have a B flat chord, which is basically going to be your G shape, and then an F chord, which is going to be your D shape in the capo world. All right, and then for the bridge section, the next set of chords is going to be D minor, E flat, F, back to E flat, and then B flat. Okay, so D minor, you're basically going to be playing kind of a B minor bar chord here. All right, and then to a C major. Well, this is the confusing part about capos. The chord is E flat. We're playing a C major shape here. Okay, then we're going to be playing the chord F. We're going to be playing a D shape, though. Back to E flat, which is your C shape. And then to B flat, which is going to be your G shape. All right, and then we're back to that D minor chord. It's the only time this appears in this song. Basically I'm playing a D minor bar chord here. E flat, which is your C shape. F, which is going to be your D shape. E flat, which is going to be your C shape again. And then B flat, which is G shape. And that's when it lingers off sitting right in front of me at a restaurant. And then it goes back to the chorus chords again. So if you're performing this song, you are definitely going to want to practice this one and go through it with the band. It's not really one that you want to wing. If you get thrown this for a last minute gig, you're going to want to put in, quite a bit of practice to get, the cuts and the transitions and all the chords down and everything like that. Just some very light stuff playing there. It's going to be, you're basically, sorry, I'm falling over there. It's basically going to be a G minor or a B major, right in here if I was playing it, which kind of sounds pretty good in that range. I would play, basically I'd be playing the D Phrygian shape here, which is basically B flat major or G minor. So, all right. To kind of emulate that slide sound, I am not a slide player whatsoever, so I'm not even going to attempt that. But throw in some very sparse stuff there. If you have a volume pedal, you can do some swells with that. That was horrible, but you get the idea. I don't know. All right, so I wanted to have a happier ending for this thing. I mean, I pretty much got this thing charted out. It's messy, but I need to wrap it up because they're making way too much noise out in my parking lot. And, a reaction video is only good if you can react to it once here. I can't go back and keep listening to the stuff because people keep banging outside with jackhammers and whatnot. Anyway, one more time here for you folks. I don't know if you can see it or not. I wrote in basically what the chords you would play if you were to capo this thing in parentheses here. And then on the back, I did that too. So if you want to capo these chords, those are the chords to play. And then I wrote down here the actual chord progression going on. We have in the A section, a 5-6-4-1-5. Basically, it's a 6-4-1-5, and that 5 kind of lingers on, but the way that it's written out in this form, that's what it's going to be. The B section, which I'm calling a pre-chorus section, 2-1-5, Shake It Off was a 2-5-1 the entire way through, and that's a very, very recognizable jazz chord progression. The C section is going to be a 6-4-1-5, the 6 being minor. And then here we go. We got a minor 3 chord to the 4-5-4-1. That's going to be your bridge section. So, and then after that, there's a couple of drop-offs over here. And then it goes back into the C section, to the B section. Wait, no, that's over on this side. Anyway, you could write a chart out and follow this thing. If I were to perform this, I would go back and I would memorize this thing all the way through. I would listen to this song on repeat for a few hours and just kind of get it into my brain circuits. And so that way I wouldn't even have to think about any of that stuff. So, but yeah, what a good challenge. I am so glad that we picked this one today for the wheel. And we'll see if we do any more Taylor Swift Eras Edition Spotify roulettes. I love doing the Spotify roulette stuff. I've been wanting to make reaction videos for a long time and also love transcribing stuff and learning things by ear. I love that people out there can see the process because it seems like such a mystical thing, this learning by ear. No, it's something that you can train yourself to do, and all you need to do is really learn, some basic things like intervals, some chord progression basics, and really, you hear a note, is it up or is it down? You go to the next note, is it up or is it down? Is it higher or lower? That's really it is. You just have to go back, rewind it. I mean, we did not have, oh my gosh, I'm going to be old man shaking my hand, shaking my fist at the clouds here, but growing up, we didn't have YouTube, and we did have tabs growing up, but I would get my tabs from the back of Guitar World magazine, or I would figure it out myself, or maybe, my teacher had a bunch of tabs too. He'd print off for me, but yeah, your ears, people have been learning by ear for generations and generations and generations. So it's a very, very important thing for all of you out there, if you're wanting to get into learning music, is to give yourself some ear training. When you're out in public and you hear songs, be like, oh, that sounds familiar. Maybe they're doing the same thing that this other song is doing. And then go back and look it up, listen to it, research it. So anyway, enough of my ear training rant. I am very excited that we picked this one today. Right Where You Left Me by Taylor Swift. I mean, this song, I'm going to give this one cold-blooded jam status. This is a cold-blooded jam. It doesn't have to be a funky jam to be cold-blooded. This was written by a musical assassin. So, I couldn't be impressed anymore with Taylor Swift's writing abilities and the people she has around her to make this kind of stuff. I mean, very, very nice chart here. And, my previous charts, I mean, you know, the previous charts I did, you know, it's like handful of chords, handful of chords. You know, Morgan Wallen, I did that one, 3 chords. You know, and Shake It Off was 3 chords, but there was enough going on in that song that it wasn't boring. All right. Right Where You Left Me by Taylor Swift. I want to thank you for watching this episode today. If you like this video and you want to hear more, or you want me to see me do more Taylor Swift stuff, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff. I've gotten into doing shorts recently, which has been a lot of fun. And I'm trying to kind of take some of my long form episode ideas and boil them down into a few minutes. So if you get a chance, check out some of my shorts. With that, I'll see you next time, friends.